Hello, this is Question Time, Bucks County Community College, Political Science 120, State and Local Government for February 22nd, 2010. And I just want to say hello to all of you out there. We have a couple of good questions that were sent in this week about readings from the text that needed a little bit more coverage, so I wanted to go over those with you. Shelley Kugel has a really good question. She said, what is the difference between soft money and schmoozing? Soft money is money that is given to parties for general purposes, not for specific candidates like GoTV or Get Out the Vote activities, registration and advertising that you should vote Democratic or vote Republican or whatever party. But if it's not for a specific candidate, that's called soft money. Schmoozing is where you take a legislator out, you're a lobbyist, and you take a legislator out for lunch, for example, and let him pick up the tab. And, you know, I actually had that happen to me one time when I was on a borough council, and I found out that nobody would accept money from me and that I had been schmoozed. And, you know, the thing was that the person that gave me the free lunch wanted something from me. That person didn't get that legislation passed, but nevertheless you can see how it might work. And Shelley also said, but what is the difference between schmoozing and a bribe? What's the difference, for that matter, between soft money and a bribe? Well, in order to be convicted of bribery, there has to be a deliberate statement, you know, where I will do this for you if you do that for me. I will give you $10,000, for example, if you change zoning on my building. If you come right out and say that to the person, whether it's in print or not, that's a bribe. And sometimes people have been caught on tape, for example, and sentenced to federal prison for doing that, and that is a bribery. But it's very tough to catch that, and it happens all the time. What are you going to do about a lobbyist walks into a local bar and buys a legislator a drink or whatever and just says, well, you know, go well? What are you going to do about that? So, I mean, you could go crazy with this kind of a thing. Gifts are acceptable in some states. There are limits on them, but you have most states require that you keep a record of the gifts you receive from any kind of a registered lobbyist that can be published and transparent so people can see what was going on to try to discourage that practice from happening. And in the soft money, I mean, you know, if you have deep pockets, you could just say, well, I'm going to give soft money to so-and-so, you know, remember me. And some grateful candidates may, in fact, vote more often your way, hoping that that money will come to them the next time when they run for re-election as well. So it is corrupt, and it's just that there's no good way to get a handle on that. And the state government is much more corrupt, I feel, than the national government is. Yeah, they're all used for the same purpose, Shelley, and basically they're illegal if it's quite transparent and blatant, and if it's not, then you can usually get away with it. I hope that helps a little bit. I'm sending everybody some excerpts from a recent Supreme Court decision, Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission. The case was heard in March. The decision came out a month ago today, I believe, and all those things you read about in Chapter 5 about limits on campaign spending per candidate, per individual, and so forth, that is all up in the air now, because this decision basically said that, reaffirmed that money is a form of speech, and that by putting limits on this, you are limiting, in this case, corporations' free speech. So the court decision, in essence, says that a business can give however much money they want to whomever they want to give it to, but they have to publish the fact that they did that and make that public knowledge. And if they have an advertisement, they have to say that they were behind that advertisement. Some congressmen were very upset about this and have tried to get legislation passed. It hasn't done so yet, where the actual CEO of the company involved would have to go on TV camera and say, you know, this ad was for me. They're trying to do some ways to try to get this a little bit under control, but basically things are opening up very wide now, and the wealthier you are, even more influence you will have compared to the average person. and you can debate whether that's a good thing or not, and whether corporations should be considered individuals or not is another important question, because that underlies the whole thing. The government feels that, the Supreme Court has felt that corporations should have the same rights as an individual. Not good news, probably, for most of us. I'd be interested in your thoughts about that. Also, Megan had a great question about VVPAT and the paper trail for electing people from electronic voting machines. She wants to know if that is a violation of confidentiality and, is really compromising the secrecy of an election. Well, we've always had a paper tape that would be taken out of the old lever machines and read, and those votes sent off. Now, what you would have is a printout again from the machine of how many people voted for candidate X, how many people voted for candidate Y. And in that sense, the secrecy could be lost if there was a recount, but the actual names of the people who voted those ways would not necessarily be revealed by that unless it was unanimous, let's say, in that polling place. Other than that, nobody would know what person voted what way. So I think you can still have most of the secrecy, even with a paper trail, and that's why a lot of people are really pushing for it. And like some of you picked up on last week, Mexico totally stole an election for the Revolutionary Party back in the 80s by shutting the machines down and just announcing a different result, and there was no paper trail to follow up on. So you can see that if you're going to have electronic machines, I think it makes sense, and I don't think it compromises the secrecy too much. So anyway, you guys by now are becoming pretty expert on government, and I suspect in another couple of weeks you can safely consider yourselves a resident expert wherever you are on a lot of this stuff. So keep up the good work and stay on schedule like you are. I'm very pleased with what's going on. And until we have our next question time, send those questions in to me. They count for participation, so keep them coming. I'd like to see another batch of questions in by Friday. Thank you very much. Have a good week. I'll see you later.